Hello everybody, it's Kirsty. You know me, I solve crime using astrology. Today I wanted to go over this terrible case. This poor girl, 6 months after she went missing, Allyson Watterson, was found just a few days ago in near North Plains in Portland, Oregon. Yes. Now, what happened was she went missing when she went on an apparent wildlife walking trip to this bush area. Her boyfriend's father told deputies that his son Benjamin Garland, who is now in prison but not for the murder of Allyson, that they had been on a hike together before losing each other. Allison's mum, Misty, told reporters that her daughter and her boyfriend had been in North Plains to visit a friend when their car broke down, so it didn't match up with what he said and what she said. So apparently he went to sleep in the car, was seen there the next day. She's been missing ever since. She's now been found just over 2.5 miles away from where she was last seen. And as I said, this guy here in prison for unlawful use of a weapon, attempt to commit a Class C unclassified felony, 4th degree assault, obliterating a firearm ID number, harassment, fraudulent use of a credit card, unauthorised use of a vehicle, 2nd degree theft. So he's in prison at the moment facing all those charges. That's this guy. What we are going to have a look at today is the time when she vanished and then the time she was found, and what we can see from both of those charts. Okay, so on the left we have the 22nd of December 2019 at 10 to 12, which was the last time that she was seen. And on the right, on the right we have the 20th of June 2020 at 4:55, which was exactly when she was found. So first of all, obviously, we're going to have a look at the missing chart and see what we can see from that, and then we'll see in the found chart if anything matches and what we can glean from that. So first off, let's have a little looky at the missing chart. I'll zoom in, grab my pen as always. So the ruler of the victim, as always, is the ascendant. And here we have 21 degrees of Pisces. Pisces is in relation to Neptune. That's the modern ruler of Pisces. So Neptune is just above the ascendant here, just above Allyson. But the actual ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. So there we have the ruler of Allyson here, Pisces and Jupiter in the 10th house in Capricorn. The ruler of the perpetrator is Virgo at 21 degrees. Virgo then has a rulership which is Mercury. So that's where we have the connection there, oops, and there. Victim, perpetrator. Mercury, as always, rules a younger person. So I see it as a person that is under the age of 29. Now, it actually differs. There are specific periods of time that planets rule in our lives. So certain ages have specific planets that capture that age. But when we look at criminal astrology, forensic astrology, it's quite different. And in that sense, when we see Mercury, we see, as always, usually either two people, a family member, someone, perhaps two people know about this, and another cousin, brother, All those things that I always talk about could be not a part of it, but in some cases can be a part of it. But when we see Virgo, it's a bit different than Gemini. Gemini really tends to show there's two people that know what's going on. Virgo, to me, is like one person did it and another person may have heard about it. But nevertheless, Mercury is sitting in the 9th house up here in Sagittarius. So we look for aspects between all of this stuff. Now, as we can see here, Mercury is not actually making an aspect to Jupiter. Go here, and Jupiter here. So if there was one, it would be in here. So that's interesting. That actually shows me that it's possible that she didn't know the person that killed her. When Virgo is on the 7th house cusp like that, it can also indicate a person that is in the victim's life on a daily basis. Now, I know that daily basis is quite often related to the 6th house, but a relationship on a daily basis is where we're sort of heading here. Now, when Virgo's on the cusp, it can literally show, now this is the perpetrator, that sometimes the suspect might have obsessive compulsive disorder or is a very neat and organised person, therefore usually an organised type of killer. It usually gives a person a fairly tall stature, dark hair, a long lean face, a high forehead, a long straight nose, a lean body, long fingers, long feet, arms that swing, or one arm that swings. Somebody that's quite witty and subtle, but somebody that talks a fair bit as well. Now, to me, that doesn't actually really give an indication of the boyfriend, because obviously he's going to be a suspect. Now, the interesting thing is the relationship between here. We have 21 degrees on the descendant, the perp line, and then the perpetrator is 20 degrees. So we have 1, 2, 3 signs away, which is 90 degrees. We have a square between those two. So it's like the perpetrator, his body, himself, his soul, everything sort of about him is very connected to the ruler of it. And then that indicates to me that just from having a look at this being in the 9th house, that there could have been communicative issues between them, and that, see, she's in the 10th house. She wants to progress on with her life, and this is almost like he wants to escape. So it's like they were on two different pathways, if it was the boyfriend, I'm saying. Now, for some reason, you know, like I said, quite often we see the two rulers connected to each other, and they're just not. Apart from the fact that Mercury is in the sign of Jupiter, which is Sagittarius, so it's in its detriment. That's showing a detrimental side to this person as well. It seems to me that this is offering more clues about what could have happened to initiate this incident. This person wanted to so if it's the boyfriend, he wanted to get away and change things up, and she didn't want to do that. So they had an issue with what they wanted to both do in their lives. And I just think she didn't fit in with his plans. I have to say, I have a feeling that he did it. It's very, very suspicious, all the circumstances surrounding it. And then when we have a look at the next chart, you'll see what I mean. It starts to make more sense. Okay, so we'll get rid of these rulers here, and we'll just start to have a look at a couple of other things. Okay, so as always, the moon co-rules the victim. Now, and like I'll always repeat, it's mainly children, but it's still always, we have to look at it. It is a co-ruler of a victim regardless. So here it sits in the 8th house of death in Scorpio. That unfortunately, and it's conjunct Mars here. So we have Mars and the moon right next to each other in Scorpio. That can show sexual assault and other awful things like that. I hope that's not the case, but that is what it shows. But the moon just being in the 8th house and next to aggressive, angry Mars is not great. The closest aspect from the moon we have is, so we're looking for something with 18 degrees or roughly thereabouts. Now we have an aspect between Mercury, which is the perpetrator, and the moon. It's a semi-sextile, so it's just a 30-degree aspect. But then we also have a 60-degree aspect to Saturn, which is the physical body. So we have a connection between her physical body, and him, all in this little, or the perpetrator, I just shouldn't say him, in this little triangle here. Okay. Now, Saturn being in the 11th house, this is the 11th house here. The 11th house is people that we know and have friendships with. That indicates that. At 20 degrees, it's making aspects to her, to the perpetrator, as I said before. But it's also making this blue triangle here, you can see very clearly, is aspecting the ascendant. So her physical self is also aspected by Saturn, which is the deceased body. So it's like there she is in the 8th house of death. There he is ready to take off. There, and he is taking control of her body, essentially, the killer, I should say, which is what he has done. And control is also Pluto here, which is right next door. So there's a sense of control issues in this. And that makes sense with the communication issues that weren't happening. Someone wanted control in this relationship, and I don't think it was her. So that making an aspect to her physical body, it's all very pointed towards her. Now, something else that's interesting is the sun is sitting here at 0 degrees of Capricorn, right next to Jupiter, which is her ruler. And it's interesting because when you look at the next chart, you'll see. Let's have a look now. Actually, before we have a look, we have an intercepted Libra in this 7th house. So not only is the perpetrator ruled by Virgo, but also by Libra. Libra's natural ruler is Venus, and that's right over here in this 11th house as well. Venus is a female. Is there a female, another female included in this scenario of what happened? It's a possibility. Is there another person that knows and the other person is a female? That could be the case. Okay, let's have a look at the found chart. Okay, here we have the found chart. We'll zoom in. So obviously it's 6 months later. Now the first thing I'm going to draw your attention to, just get my pen, is this sun here. Oh, try and get my pen. Look at the sun. It's at 0 degrees of Cancer. Before, it was at 0 degrees of Capricorn. So it was exactly opposite when she was found, at 0 degrees. So it took a whole 180-degree rotation of the Earth around the Sun to be found, which is 6 months. So yeah, the Sun at 0 degrees when she was taken, the Sun at 0 degrees when she was found. So that's interesting. Now, when she was found, we have Scorpio at 11 degrees on the ascendant, Taurus on the perpetrator line with Uranus there, just underneath. So the people that found her the person that found her would have been very surprised to stumble across her. He was going about his daily routine, which is the 6th house, into the 7th. Just going about what he does normally. In Taurus, he's doing farming stuff. He was in the bush and clearing land. That's a Taurus thing. And then he stumbled across her body. Now, at this point in time, we can see the moon, which co-rules Allyson, is in the 8th house of death. Again. Now we have the perpetrator also in the 8th house of death. And that Sun as well. The 8th house is very packed. Mercury is now in Cancer, and aspect is, just have a look around, it's actually to the descendant. So once again we have a close aspect between Mercury and the descendant, the perpetrator line. Now, Libra was intercepted in that last chart, as you'll remember at the end. Now, look where we have Libra, on the cusp of the 12th house, in prison. That's where prison is. So if Libra doesn't represent a female, and it just represents the person, are they in prison? Possible. Okay, now there's a couple of other things that we have here. The end of the matter is Aquarius, so out in the open. So she wasn't buried. She was left out in the air, open. That's the 4th house cusp. The end of the matter, where she resides. The physical body is Saturn here, and it's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So we've got lots of zeros when she was found. So it's new, not new beginnings. Well, it's new beginnings for her. It's new beginnings for the entire investigation, and that's quite easy to see with these couple of 0 degrees here. Now, what this does show, interestingly, measurement-wise and mileage, because we're going to have a look at the map now, mileage and measurements aren't relative to the found chart, but they are to the missing chart. So we'll just pop back to that one, have a look at the degrees we're going to use, and then we'll just have a quick look at the map. Okay, for this one, I simply went for the IC degrees, 25.56 or 26, 2.6 miles. For the directional lines, I used the ascendant, the descendant for the perp line, and I can't remember what else. So let's just have a look at the map and I'll show you. All right, here we have the map. Now, 2.6 miles is exactly where she was found. I'm going to go here. We'll zoom in. She was found in this bushland here on Pumpkin Ridge Road. And that is 2.6 miles. So it matched perfectly with the IC, the end of the matter. So here we have the ascendant line, 351 degrees, which is that Pisces that we were looking at. And that literally, as I said, as with the other line, leads to the area. So this was a very simple 2 degrees, 2 lines led to her body. This would have been one of the areas that I would have looked along this road. I would have looked here, and I believe that it was here or just over this other side of the road here. Nevertheless, it was very, very, very close. Now, so if we go, here's the perpetrator line. That is Mercury at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. I don't know who the perpetrator is yet, obviously, but if he lives anywhere, it could be along this line here. Or this is also the perpetrator line. To North Plains. And I drew further. I don't know why I went further. Hillsborough. Yeah, Hillsborough was interesting to me. Here we go. I knew I went down there. Around Hillsborough. So I'm going to zoom in. Have a look at where this line goes. Past Hillsborough Seventh-day Adventist Church. North Edison Street. North East Jackson Street. East Main Street. I recognise that name. That's a bit scary, isn't it, being in Australia and recognising street names in America just through crimes. All the way down here. This is mainly for other people's benefit. I don't know this area, obviously. I don't know anything about the boyfriend, where he lives. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to show there. So it was as simple as 2 lines, 2.6 miles out. So the IC matched perfectly with the miles outwards from where she was last seen to her body. Then the direction of the ascendant, 21 degrees of Pisces. Was this line here, which converts to 351 degrees, which led to her body. Very, very simple mapping. It'd be great if they were all as simple as that. As I've always said, in hindsight, it seems to be a whole lot easier to erect charts. Because I think mainly because we have specific times. We have more information about when they were last seen and what happened. The more specific we can get with time, the more specific we can get with the crime. Okay, so that's Allyson. I just hope she rests, and if it is this guy, I hope he gets done. If it's not, then it's possibly somebody that she didn't know at all, which I find quite hard to believe, to be honest. But there's usually 2 scenarios in charts, and that seems to be these 2. Someone she doesn't know at all, which seems very unlikely, or somebody she did know and knew on a daily basis, like I said. He doesn't match the description as such. I should tell you actually the description for a Libra, as that was intercepted. So that gives a person with light brown hair, cheerful, well-spoken, tall, slender, courteous, impartial, upright in all their dealings. That doesn't sound like him. But also the person next door who people never assume will commit such crimes, good-looking and outwardly kind, pleasant facial features and an oval face, gives off the impression of straightforwardness, placid, classy, sympathy and charm. That doesn't suit him at all. Hey, the charts aren't always right, so I'm not going to discount the fact that he could be the one because he doesn't suit that specific chart. And it could be that we don't have the exact time, because the media leads us all over the place. But as far as we can see from what I showed you, there's some definite indicators that it's a young man, someone that she knew on a daily basis, and somebody that she was fighting with about the rest of the decision that was going to happen for their relationship. He wanted to go one way, she wanted to go another, and I don't believe he wanted that to happen. Allegedly, that's how I feel. Always have to say that. Okay, thank you guys, and please let me know, especially my people that have joined, my members, please let me know if you want any cases done. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye.